Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed? Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
It's great to hear your voice, Dr. Shealy. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us before we get into some of the topics of today, like the coronavirus and the quarantine and those kinds of things?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, I was reading an article and MiamiHerald.com headlines. Military preparing quarantine centers for coronavirus patients in U.S., Pentagon says. This was as of February 7th, just a couple days ago, 2020. And so the U.S. government is preparing these military bases to house quarantine patients, victims, people across the United States. So I thought I'd let y'all know where these are. There are a bunch of them. And I wonder what it's going to do to property values near you. Okay, so here they are, according to the Miami Herald. So the new quarantine centers are JB Pearl Harbor Hickam in Hawaii. Used to be called Hickam Field. So that's Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Great Lakes Training Center Naval Base in Illinois. My father-in-law was there. Great Lakes Naval Base. Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base in Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth. March Air Force Base near Los Angeles, California. Travis Air Force Base near San Francisco. Dobbins Air Force Base in near Atlanta, Georgia. Fort Hamilton near JFK, New York. The Naval Base Kitsap in Washington, near Seattle. The Joint Base Anacostia, Washington, D.C. The Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst in New Jersey. And that's where the Hindenburg blew up, or was shot up. But it did catch on fire at Lakehurst Naval Station in New Jersey. And Fort Custer Training Center in Michigan. So those are the latest military base quarantine centers, in addition to the Fort Carson in Colorado, Travis Air Force and a Marine Corps Air Station in Miramar, California, and Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. So that's where we are going to be housing people who have been exposed and identified as carriers of the coronavirus. Dr. Shealy, for us, with allegedly so few identified in the United States with the coronavirus, to have that many bases and that many installations for quarantine is huge. So that tells me, no matter what is being told on the media, that it's way, way bigger than anyone that is outside of those in the know.
Is there any data on how many people they placed in each of those places?
Well, let's see. Give me a second. I believe I saw that. Okay. All right. Here's some more information. As of Friday, and this is from the Miami Herald, as of Friday, more than 31,400 people have been infected worldwide. 31,400. That's what they're saying. And they say that more than 630 have died. Well, the latest number I read this morning was over 800 have died. Let's see. Each base will be able to house up to 20 patients, along with public health equipment.
I think there's almost 400 people coming back, so that explains the many different bases.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And from what I've read, and there are all kinds of articles about this, and it's really hard to figure out who's actually more right or closer to the truth than others. But what I've read in Wuhan, China, in that area, if you want to get a hazmat suit, you can't. They're out of them. If you want latex gloves, they're out of them. If you want face masks, they're out of them. Absolutely out. So that's what I've read. Do you have any other information that you've learned?
No, I just see rumor, but nothing that can be quantified.
Okay. How about the cruise ships? There are 4 cruise ships right now that are under quarantine. And what's happened is they've identified some patients, and they will not let anyone off the cruise ships. So let me... I've never been on one. Have you, Dr. Shealy, have you ever been on a cruise? I've never been on one.
Twice, and I despise it. I think it's the biggest waste of time in the world.
Okay. Well, then maybe you can chime in with some thoughts about this. So it seems that people have spent their money to travel to nowhere, go around and, watch the ocean. And then when they're on the ocean, they go in a swimming pool that's on the ship. And they go to casinos that are on the ship. And they go to live shows, theater, if you will. And they go to the bars. And it's all on the ship. So it's like a floating city. And it's all the while it's burning an enormous amount of fuel and dumping trash into the ocean and so forth as the cruise ship goes around and around and around. And what's happened is, or I believe, and I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So when the cruise is set to sail, and let's say it's going to be a week-long cruise, I believe that there is an allotment, if you will, of materials and water and food and napkins and toilet paper and, everything. So they say, all right, we're going for a week, so let's get 15% more everything. Just in case, in case we run into rough seas, so we'll have a little extra. Well, that would be 1.15x. So if they would need 1x, they'd have 1.15x in my logic here. Now, I haven't read this anywhere, and I can't prove it, and I don't know, but this seems logical to me. But when they take that cruise that was going to be 1 week, and they stretch it out for a month, and no one gets off for a month now.
They'll be using the swimming pools for toilet paper, toilet water.
Yeah, and they're gonna be using the other side of the toilet paper too.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a pretty serious thing. Now, I haven't been in a cabin on a cruise ship, but I've seen images of them, pictures of them, and they're not all that big, right? So they're not quite as big as those tiny rooms at the older Holiday Inns, right? They're small cabins, right? Small rooms. Okay. Well, what's happening is that the people who are on some of these cruise ships, these 4, are not let out of their rooms. They get to stay in the room for a month. Now, I got to tell you, I think some people are going to go stark raving mad. Now, if they don't have 4x of, let's say, just one item, what would that be? Let's say coffee. If they don't have 4x coffee, and people are addicted to coffee, and I bet you that there's a great percentage of people who get on these cruises that love coffee. What happens to them? And this is a medical question, Dr. Shealy. So what happens to them when the guy in the white uniform says, yeah, I know you wanted coffee, but we don't have any. And we're probably not going to have any for another 2 weeks. What happens to them, Dr. Shealy? Do they go ballistic? Do they become out of control? Do they become antagonistic? What are there personality changes when someone gets cut off from caffeine, like cold turkey?
Yeah, all the way up and all the way down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, as a medical doctor, what would you recommend for if you're facing no coffee and you're locked into that room and you're told, yeah, I know you want to get off just like everybody else does. Now you have a choice. You can jump out if you could jump out the window, but the window's not big enough. But if you ever get on deck, you can jump off and you can swim, 150 miles to shore. What would you recommend people do to overcome?
I hope that they have a bunch of Earl Grey tea because it has bergamot in it.
Mm-hmm.
Bergamot is my favorite herb in the world for mood and that kind of thing. It is remarkably good and better than caffeine and other things.
Okay, so that's Earl Grey tea, right? And there are plenty of places where you can find Earl Grey. I believe even the Chinese factory outlet has Earl Grey for a while. And that was another thing I wanted to talk with you about, Dr. Shealy, and this is extremely important. I read last night, and we talked about this for a couple of weeks now. We've been talking about the coronavirus, and I've mentioned right here on this broadcast, one of my concerns is that we get everything from China. And so the Chinese make parts for other full assemblies. So, for example, if you buy something that's made in Japan, let's say it's a piece of electronic gear that's still made in Japan, which are probably not too many, but let's say you did, parts of that electronic device as a whole probably come from China. And parts of it come from suppliers that are outside of China. And one of those suppliers would be South America. So South America has mines where they mine copper. And they send the copper to China. And then the Chinese turn that copper into foil sheets, wire. They extrude it into strands of wire. They make all kinds of wires. Stranded wire, solid wire, thin, thick, medium, every kind of wire you can think of. And they put insulation on it. Well, there's a term in business I learned a very long time ago, in the 1970s, maybe 1970 exactly. And that term is force majeure. Dr. Shealy, in your travels, have you heard the term force majeure? They ever talk about that in the medical industry? Force majeure?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you want to tell us what that means in the medical industry?
Well, it means a big, huge, a major force. It's something big going to happen. That's all I know.
Okay. Right. So in the contracts that I've agreed to for the Get Prepared Expos over the years, I would write into the contract with the venue. So the venue is the place where it's going to be. That big room in the convention center that we would rent for, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So in that contract, I said that I will honor my side of the contract unless there's a force majeure. I'll tell you what that means when we come back. Dr. Shealy's with us, and we're talking about the coronavirus and force majeure. Now, let me spell that for you, class. It's two words, force, F-O-R-C-E, and the second word is majeure, M-A-J-E-U-R-E. And force majeure means an overwhelming force, something so big, so powerful, unexpected, that in a contract, one or both parties can't fulfill the terms of the contract. So it could be something like you're going to buy something, and then some huge event, you're going to buy it on the first of the month, for example, and you all agree to it. You agree on the price, everything, the delivery, and then something happens that is so big that you cannot fulfill the contract. And if you have that condition in your contract, then you are out of the contract without penalty. So when I had the Get Prepared Expo, I would put in there the condition that should there be a force majeure, I do not have to fulfill the contract. Now, it's not a weasel clause. It's me stating that force majeure is huge. It's like an atomic bomb. Okay? An atomic bomb blows up, an area, and Springfield, Missouri, for example, is impacted. Or the snow is so deep that you can't find the snow plows under the snow. They can't even get out to plow the roads. And if they can't plow the roads, the guests can't come, and the exhibitors can't come, and the speakers can't come to the expo. That's a force majeure. Okay? Or flooding is so great that you can't get there without a boat. That is a force majeure. So what's happened because of the coronavirus in China in some areas is force majeure. That means that in this one particular case, actually there's two cases I'll tell you about, and these are devastating. Forget the illness, forget the death. Just put that aside for a moment. Force majeure, because of the coronavirus, Chinese factories have shut down. And they have contracts to buy copper from South America. And they're saying, the Chinese buyers are saying, yeah, we want to buy it, but there's nothing we can do with it because the factories that we provide it to make those circuit boards and make those integrated circuits and make the wire and make the starters and the wiring harnesses for the automobiles and so forth, they're closed. So we can't use the copper to send them the copper material so that they can make the wire and the circuit boards and so forth because of force majeure. Now, what does that mean? That means that the parts industry is suffering and the supply chain is, and that's something that we talked about for weeks now, that this will impact the supply chain. 2 weeks later now, we're just beginning to talk about it in the media, the supply chain. So think about this. Let's say, for example, you are an automobile manufacturer and your company's name is Hyundai or Kia, and your company is in South Korea, and you make automobiles. But some of the parts come from China.
One of the major arguments for not having anything manufactured in China under any circumstance.
Hyundai and Kia don't know if they can continue manufacturing cars right now. This is absolutely true, because some of the parts come from China. For about 4 decades, once in a while, I could be quoted as saying, we manufactured satellite communications equipment back in 1980 in California. And I would say from time to time, it takes about 1,000 parts to make a satellite receiver. And at any point in time, we would have 999 of them. And how important is it to have that last part? Well, let me explain it to you. And I'm speaking from experience. There were times that we had everything ready, but the 4 little rubber feet that went on the bottom of the chassis, so it wouldn't scratch the table that you put it on. Or we'd have everything except the power cords. Or we'd have everything except for the set screw that locks the tuning knob on the front panel. We'd have, it was like that. Or even the 2 staples that went in to staple the manual together, the 16-page manual, and we'd build them ourselves and staple them with 2 staples. If we didn't have the staples, we couldn't ship. We'll be right back. Class, we're talking with Dr. Norman Shealy, medical doctor, and his office is in Springfield, Missouri. And if you'd like to call the number for that office, 417-351-5221. And if you'd like to go to the website, that is normshealy.com, normshealy.com. The reason we're talking about the coronavirus and force majeure is to let you know how serious this is, and then we'll get into what you need to do about it. I just want to underscore how serious this really is. Now, aside from just the symptoms of getting sick, is this force majeure, and it involves everything. Because of the 10 most active shipping ports in the world, China has 7 of them. 7 of the most active. And I looked up spark plugs last night because we bought some spark plugs, and I like Bosch, B-O-S-C-H. They're German. At least the name is German, or at least the name was German. And we ordered some new spark plugs. They came in, and it says made in China. Spark plugs. So what spark plugs are made in China? Well, Denso, NGK, Champion, Bosch, Autolite. Y'all remember those names, right? Those spark plugs are made in China now, or at least some of them, at least the ones I've seen. And so what I'm trying to say is if you want to just change the spark plugs in your car and you break one of them, they're going to come from China. Axles, if you have a Mercedes-Benz, or if you have a Kia, or if you have a Honda, or if you have a Lexus, or if you have pretty much any brand, whether it be domestic or foreign, and you need a boot that covers up the constant velocity joint on the front-wheel drive axle or the rear-wheel drive axle, and it fails because the rubber part's worn out and you need now a whole new axle, it's going to come from China. If you buy it at AutoZone, it's going to come from China, regardless of whether the car is a Mercedes or a Honda or a Kia or a Hyundai or a Ford or a Chevy or Dodge. If you buy a bumper on the internet for your Dodge pickup truck made in 1989, the original one came from China. The new one comes from China. The only difference between a new one and the old one is the new one weighs 10% less, but still comes from China. I'm not making this up. What I'm trying to tell you very clearly is that we are dependent on the Chinese, and they can't buy the copper because they can't use the copper because the manufacturing is shut down. Copper's in everything electronic, everything.
Yeah.
So you may think, yes.
The bottom line is we ought to put a 100% tariff on everything that is made out of this country anywhere and make it all made in this country. I'm being serious. We can't afford the stupidity of having things made thousands of miles out of the country.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Shealy, and we used to make everything in this country. We learned how to make it. We made it better with more ingenuity. As a matter of fact, that's how we won World War II. The Germans made really fine tanks, the Tiger and the Panzer tank, but we made a lot more of them faster. We made so many of them that we could take those lighter weight Sherman tanks, surround the Panzer tanks, and just keep plinking at it until it blew up. I mean, that's what we were really good at. We could make it. We had assembly lines that were second to none. You know, thank you, Henry Ford. That's what we did, and we were really good at it. But during the Clinton administration, we decided we don't need to make it here. We'll have them make it, and we'll just buy it from them, and we won't pay them very much. So we stopped manufacturing shirts. We stopped manufacturing pretty much everything. An example of that, Dr. Shealy, is I have some old scissors here at the house, and they say Brooklyn, New York. Now, who would think that there would be a factory in Brooklyn, New York that made scissors, right? That doesn't come. When you think of great scissors, you don't think of Brooklyn. When you think of shirts, you don't think of Brooklyn or New York City, the shirt factories that we had. We've given all that to the third world countries. We've given the manufacturing to Asia. And so I looked up hypodermic needles, Dr. Shealy. Hypodermic needles are made in China. And I'm not saying they're lousy. I'm just saying we don't make them. So now what are we going to do? So we want to, there are people who are going to jump on the vaccine bandwagon to get vaccinated. Well, where are we going to get the hypodermic needles for the vaccines? Now, I'm not going to get vaccinated. I mean, no matter what. I'm not going to do it. Lead first.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
Under any circumstance.
So the question I have for you, Dr. Shealy, is, or one of many questions, are you aware of the supply chain disruptions that we're facing in the medical industry? I'm talking about tubing, plastic tubing, rubberized tubing, latex gloves, masks, serums, antibiotics,
everything.
Supplements.
I've been saying this for the last 10 years minimum. I don't trust anything that comes out of China in the first place. And secondly, I think it's stupid beyond belief that we could have anybody unemployed in this country when we should be making everything here.
And instead of training our people to make things here, we have destroyed our educational system, whereby we used to teach the trades like plumbing, heating, electrical, masonry, roofing, framing, those kinds of trades, setting concrete forms to build basements. We don't teach that anymore at the high schools. We teach Microsoft Office. We teach Black History Month. Now, I'm not against blacks, but I am against Black History Month because I don't know of a Red History Month or a Yellow History Month or a White History Month. So if we're going to teach history, let's teach history. Let's not teach fluffy stuff. Let's not teach feel-good stuff. Let's teach the hard sciences. Let's teach the trades. Let's teach reading, writing, and arithmetic so we can put America back to work. That's what we need to do. We need to fire the superintendents. We need to fire the principals. We need to fire any teacher who does not subscribe to teaching reading, writing, arithmetic, the trades, and the hard sciences and history. That's what we need to do. And we need to do it.
All the way, Big Blue.
We need to do it 2 decades ago. Yeah. But we're not. And so here's another force majeure, and this will show you how bad it is. Liquefied petroleum or liquefied natural gas. The Chinese have said we can't take any more. We can't use it. That means, what's it used for? It's used for generating heat. It's used for moving equipment. It's used for forklifts. It's used for generating heat through combustion or burning of the gas. That's what it's used for. It's energy that was a gas that's compressed into a liquid that when it returns to gas, it can be used again for generating heat or providing explosions in internal combustion engines. Okay? That's what it's used for. But the Chinese have said, force majeure, we can't take any more of it. They can't use it because the factories are shutting down and are continuing to shut down. And the ports are shutting down. If you put all that together, it's telling you that China is slowly going, actually not even slowly, China is going out of business. And that means that if you have a starter for your car or a computer for, well, let's just say a computer, there's like 100% certainty that if you have a computer in your car, and many cars have lots of computers, they actually have a bus that connects all the computers to the car, like wheel sensor computers, the one that tells you what the tire pressure is on your dashboard because, we don't know how to check our tires anymore. So we have a dash display that tells us that our tires are low and need air because we don't know how to check them ourselves with a tire pressure gauge or the fuel gauge or the speedometer or the climate control or the lighting system or the engine control, the fuel management system of the engine or the transmission control computers. They're all connected. And those computers all, and I challenge anyone to tell me that this is not correct, all of them have Chinese components. Every computer in every current manufactured car has Chinese components. I challenge anybody to tell me that's not true. So because of that, the supply chain, the repair parts for your, just for your car is going to be difficult to get. I turned over the keyboards of the computers in the studio. I bought them used. I bought 7 computers for $350, and I modified them to run the studio. And I just turned over all the keyboards. They say Dell on the top. They say made in China on the bottom. The monitors are made in China. The computers are made in China. The keyboards and mice are made in China. The wires are made in China. It's all Chinese. But it says Dell, Michael Dell. The broadcast that you're listening to, you could not listen to without China. From the origination, through the network switches at the telco, the telephone company, through the power generation, those computers that manage the power of the grid, the telephone lines, the microwave links, the fiber optics, all the network switches in between us and Minnesota at Genesis Communications, and all their computers and network equipment, and then the satellite equipment going up to the satellite, and then the satellite equipment coming back down from the satellite to your infrastructure to get you to your cell towers or your landlines or however you're listening or your cell phone. It's all China. End to end to end. Chinese. That's why I'm so concerned about this, Dr. Shealy. And so if you believe what I've said, then you ought to prepare. Dr. Shealy, have you been shopping in any stores and watch what people put in their carts? Have you gone to like a supermarket in the last couple of weeks and bought things and put them in your shopping cart and taken them home? And have you looked at what other people are doing in their shopping carts? Have you seen that? I haven't been.
I hardly ever go into a store.
Good for you.
I buy 90% of what I buy online.
Okay.
But I just don't see what the others are doing.
Okay. Well, let me share it with you then, what I've seen. So I try not to go out, and I bring an ultraviolet C light, and I sterilize the handle on the push cart. And it's not like I have to go out. I don't want to go out. I'm just topping off with some of the things that I think we should have just to replenish, because I'm planning on staying home, and so is the whole family. Well, as this gets worse. Well, here's what I've noticed. The people who are pushing the shopping carts, and I go to Aldi. I like Aldi. It's a top quality but yet discount supermarket. They don't have everything, but they've got 80% of what you'd want to have, for sure. And most of it's good. I wouldn't buy the meat there, but most of it's good. Well, I see and have seen the last couple of weeks people absolutely unconcerned. You don't see anybody with a large package of toilet paper. You don't see people buying cans, cases of cans of food, that will store for a long time. And for example, beans. You can eat beans, pork and beans, or, vegetarian beans in a can cold. You don't have to eat them. You can have them cold. I didn't see anybody with a case of beans. I didn't see anybody with a case of corn or peas or case of anything. Pasta sauce. Even the toxic gluten pasta. I didn't see anybody buy more than one package of spaghetti noodles or more than one of anything. It was stunning to me how unknowledgeable the people are as to what's happening. Plus, we talked about copper. We talked about liquefied natural gas, force majeure. Being used as the way of stopping the contracts from being enforced from the Chinese purchasers. We talked about vitamins. We've talked about supplements. We've talked about spark plugs. We've talked about what's made in China and the computers and the wire and the copper. I've been wanting to buy some fuel oil for the farm. So I've been pricing fuel oil. So a couple of weeks ago, I found out that the wholesale price couple weeks ago for fuel oil. Now, what is fuel oil? Well, it's called number 2 fuel oil. That is known as diesel. It's known as farm fuel. It's known as home heating oil. It's all the same. It's known by 3 different names. So if you fill up your home heating tank, you live on the East Coast, that would be called heating fuel or fuel oil burner fuel. If you drive a diesel truck, it's known as diesel. If you have a farm and you use that same fuel as heating oil and diesel on your farm, it's called fuel oil or farm fuel. Now, if you heat your house with it, it's dyed red. If you use it on the farm, it's dyed red. If you use it on your on-the-road vehicle, like a diesel car, diesel truck, it's dyed green. It's all the same. Just the dye indicates whether there's an additional set of taxes paid on it, the state tax and the federal tax. Dr. Shealy, that's absolutely true. So on your farm, your fuel is going to be red. On our farm, it's going to be red. And in our diesel truck, it's going to be green. And literally, the government dyes it because there's a state fuel tax on diesel and there is a federal tax. It's roughly around 40 cents. On average across the United States. So, and here's where I'm going with this. So the wholesale price of fuel about 2 weeks ago is about $1.97. Since the coronavirus and since the Chinese have stopped manufacturing, They're not driving as many vehicles, and diesel fuel is the fuel of choice for heavy equipment, whether it be bulldozers or Caterpillar dozers or track hoes or backhoes or farm tractors or 18-wheelers or heavy-duty pickup trucks. They all use, the serious ones use diesel fuel. Well, because the Chinese aren't buying as much diesel fuel, or the same thing, fuel oil, whatever you want to call it, number two, fuel, they're not buying as much. So the price has fallen in 2 weeks to about $1.40. What I'm saying is it's fallen 25% in 2 weeks because the Chinese aren't buying as much of it. So now there's a glut, and it's going to continue to fall. What I'm trying to do is paint the picture so that you, in our class, can decide what to do for yourself. I don't want to tell you what to do. This broadcast is to empower you to be a leaderless group of groups, if you will. And each group might be your own household. So we're trying to teach you how to think, and that's what Dr. Shealy is doing as well. All of our instructors are trying to teach you how to think so that you can decipher what's actually happening. And I hope this put shed a little bit of light on how serious this problem is.
There's one big question.
Yes.
I'm pretty well prepared with food, but for toilet paper, I've only got about 4 months supply. Should I get a year's supply or 2 years supply?
All right, let me answer. And Dr. Shealy, if you'd like to ask me preparedness questions, or class, if you'd like to call in, we'll pay for the call, 866-582-9933. If you'd like to ask me any of these questions, I will be glad to answer them. And to answer your question, Dr. Shealy, we hadn't bought toilet paper for 10 years. And I think, and because of that, we have absolute proof that the toilet paper, the sheets have become smaller.
Oh,
and yes, over the years. And if you, class, if you want proof of that, if you have a house that was built, like in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and you look at the built into the wall toilet paper unroller, you'll find you got plenty of slack on the left and right side because the rolls have gotten narrower. Like every couple of years, they shave off another 1/16 of an inch. So, Dr. Shealy, the answer is, when we find toilet paper on sale, we buy the single ply, because it's the best value, and it has less air in it, so it takes less space to store it. A year's supply is reasonable to me, absolutely reasonable.
I'm with you all the way.
And so what did I pay for it? Last time I bought it was recently, within the last month or so, $6.29 at Aldi for 12 rolls. That's a little over 50 cents a roll. That's for the single ply 1,000 sheet. But the 1,000 sheets aren't quite as big. They don't have the same surface area as 1,000 sheets had 20 years ago. It's gotten smaller, but it's still the best deal. Scott's, if you can get it at the Chinese factory outlet for around 50 cents a roll for the 1,000 sheet single ply, that's a great way to go. Dr. Shealy, if you have more questions, I'll be glad to entertain them and try to answer them to the best of my ability when we come back. Do you think you have some?
Oh, I'm sure I will.
Okay, we can talk about anything preparedness. I'm ready. Class, if you'd like to call, 866-582-9933. We'll be right back with Dr. Norman Shealy. Class, we've been talking with Dr. Norm Shealy about the coronavirus, force majeure, and what it means to all of us in terms of spare parts. And just think about this. So you need to have your starter replaced on your car. Let's say you're going to hire somebody to do it. Let's say you're going to do it yourself. And you go and find out that you can't get the starter because some of the parts that are used to make them come from China. Or the rebuilt starters, they use the parts that come from China to rebuild your starter for your car. Now what? Right now, it's been reported that there are about 400 million people under quarantine in China. 400 million. Now, there are different reports saying different numbers, but this one is 400 million. That is more than the entire population of the United States. The numbers that I'm reading are saying that the virus, those infected with the coronavirus, That number is doubling every 5 days. Doubling every 5 days. That's an enormous number, Dr. Shealy. Do you have concerns about what we should be doing right now, or do you have any questions about me, about preparedness?
Well, my biggest thing is not health, because I'm isolated enough, I can just lock down and stay on my farm. And as long as I have some kind of electricity, and even then I could survive with a wood stove if I had to. But it's those big items, like I'm going to order a year's supply of toilet paper and that kind of stuff right away.
Do you have a membership to Sam's Club?
I do. Well, I used to. I haven't been there so long. I just ordered it all on Amazon.
Okay. Well, here's why I'm saying that. I have ordered some things from Sam's Club, and I had them shipped. And here's, is your tax rate at your farm less than the tax rate of Springfield, Missouri? It's about 8% in Springfield.
Yeah, ours is about 5.
Okay. So what you can do, when you order something online, you use your home address at your home tax rate, and you'll pay 5%. And a lot of these places like Sam's Club and Amazon offer free shipping. And I bought things that it would cost me more to ship the item than I pay for the item shipped to us. It's amazing how that works. But I ordered some things from Sam's Club. I ordered some gloves, latex gloves, food service gloves, things like that, shipped for free. Now, it'd be the same price if I went to the store in Springfield to buy them or have them shipped here. Same exact price, except I pay less in tax if it's shipped here, believe it or not. So I've had all those things shipped in. So you may want to check with that. Now, you have to have a Sam's Club Plus membership, which costs $100 a year, kind of like Amazon's Prime. I think it costs $120 for Amazon's Prime now, but you get free shipping on many items. So that's what we've done. So, you might want to do that and get the toilet paper. Are there any other things that you're concerned about? Not soap, and I'll have plenty of that, but that's really about it. Soap and toilet paper are the big ones to me. Okay. Well, we bought soap about 10 years ago, and here's how we handle this. We bought a bunch of 5-gallon buckets. You can get them. They're typically about $3 a piece, depending on how many you buy, and you can buy the lids for maybe $1.50 or $2, maybe even $2.50 for the lids. And I'm talking about brand new buckets. And sometimes they're available in 3-gallon, 4-gallon, and 5-gallon sizes. So we bought some 6 gallons. And they were actually the same price or less than a 5-gallon. So we thought, that makes sense. So what can you use them for? Well, if you get a plastic liner, you can put grains in there. And you can pack it with nitrogen. So 20-something years ago, maybe 30, I bought a cylinder, kind of like a welding tank, but it's green, painted green, to indicate that it's nitrogen. So what I do is I bought a regulator for it and a long hose, and I use a industrial coupling like you'd have on an air hose, and I put a long wand on the blowgun attached to the end of the hose, and I put the grains in there. First I put in a liner, plastic liner, food grade liner, put the grains in there, put the nitrogen starting at the bottom because nitrogen's heavy, and I aerate or nitrogenate the grains, while I have the lid covering most of the top of the bucket, and I blow nitrogen in there in between the grains, and then I slowly come up, letting more and more nitrogen in, and then sealing the lid with mostly nitrogen in the bucket. And it's good for a long time. I know for a fact that we can keep popcorn at least 20 years in one of those buckets with nitrogen popcorn. And it works perfectly when you go to pop it. So I know that for a fact. And for soap, you mentioned soap. When soap is on sale, let's say 3 for $1. And by the way, soap's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It used to be 5 ounces, now 4 ounces, or 4.5, then 4, then now it's down to the new large size, which is like 3.5 ounces or 3 ounces. We bought maybe 20 years worth, and those are in these buckets, and the lid's on the bucket, so they're just as good today as they were years ago. And you don't need to store soap in nitrogen. You don't have to. Just pack it in tightly, more contents, less air, and just put the lid on it and take the lid off when you're going to be taking some soap out. So that's how we do it, Dr. Shealy. So, yes. And we haven't bought soap in a long time, probably darn close to a decade now.
Great.
Any other thoughts, questions?
No, I think I'm reasonably prepared, and within a week we'll be better.
Okay, how about this? I looked at the Sam's Club brand of vitamin C. Now, I like yours. I've got yours right here. Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula with it's got ascorbic acid, 2,000 milligrams or 2 grams plus. It's got MSM. It's got a gram or 1,000 milligrams of MSM. If you go to look at the label on the Sam's Club vitamin C, it will say something like contents from China and the United States.
I don't want anything from China.
Yeah. Now, if you go to buy it on the internet, it's not going to talk about the China part. They'll just say, Sam's Club vitamin C, but it won't say what the label says. So you have to be really careful, class, of what you buy. Now, what I'm saying is that even Sam's Club, I think they fired some of their quality assurance people that would test the products, look at the products, and make sure that they were up to the highest level of standards that their members would expect. Just like Sears, and that's what I believe ruined Sears. I think Sears used to have people at their corporate headquarters, and they would say, okay, we're going to have some washing machines. All right, let's look at all the different brands that make sense. We'll look at Maytag, we'll look at Whirlpool, we'll look at General Electric, and we'll test them, and then we'll decide which one we're going to put the Kenmore brand name on. So when you bought something at Sears, and I'm talking like in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you knew that it was a good product because they had testers. They had the equivalent of consumers' reports inside of Sears testing the products to make sure they're durable, they were good value, and they weren't junk. Well, that's not the case anymore. And because Sears forgot to test products, that's one of the reasons why they've gone out of business. They're closing the store in Springfield, Missouri, because who wants to go to Sears anymore? Because they're no better than anybody else. You can't trust them any more than you can trust anybody else, and you can't trust anybody else either. So that's what Sears did wrong. That's what Sam is doing wrong. Sam sent me a survey. Hey, what do you think? And I lambasted them as to what I think. And maybe on Friday I'll read my response. But yes, we got a caller here. Let's see. Let's just take the call. We'll take it cold. Hi, you're on the air with Vin Finelli and Dr. Norm Shealy. Hello? Anybody home? You're on the air. No? Going once. See, that's what happens when I take a call without the engineer picking it up. I just tried it. The call's there, but no one wanted to speak. So I don't know why, but maybe he or she was shy. So, Dr. Shealy, here's a question about bladder stones. As we get older, we seem to get bladder stones. What are they, and what can we do to dissolve them? Can we dissolve them by changing our diet, or we're going to have them removed surgically?
Well, in general, there's a deficiency of B6, especially, and magnesium with kidney stones. And they're either calcium phosphate or calcium oxalate. If they're calcium oxalate, that is even more important because it means that you can't take more than about 100 milligrams of vitamin C a day in some people if you don't have adequate B6 especially. And so it is critically important that you get your magnesium lotion every day and that you get a minimum of 50 to 100 milligrams of B6 every day. And that you don't drink fluoridated water.
Well, that's going to be a problem, right? That's going to be a huge problem for a lot of people. So, class, there are filters that will filter the fluoride out of your water. One of those filters is made by ProPure, and I would suggest you consider doing that. Now, we used to have those on our website, but we got beat up by a bunch of trolls, And so I took that down. We used to sell ProPure at the lowest price. I may do it again, but I would consider getting a ProPure water filtration system. We have them here at the farm. We use them. We like them. And there is a built-in fluoride system in the trap in the system to filter out the fluoride, as well as the chlorine, and as well as the heavy metals and so forth. And there's a silver-infused ceramic outer shell of the filter, which kills the bacteria. It's a great way to go. David in Illinois, welcome. You're on with Dr. Shealy.
Are you there this time?
I was there last time. But you know what I think happened? I'll tell you what I think happened. You know, I've got the call screen. I saw that there was a call coming in, but I think the pot was down on the main board in the studio at GCN. So even though I could talk to you, you probably couldn't hear me, and we couldn't hear you. Okay. So I'm glad you're here, David.
I was going to say you caused my phone a lot of problems. Anyways, we're a couple questions for the doctor. Is there a decent place that you can buy bulk vitamin D3 that is a reliable as well as decent cost?
Well, as far as I've used for probably almost 20 years, Biotech, a company down in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and it's on my website in our products.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I've been taking.
Yeah, right now my doctor gave me vitamin D3 to take, but it's for like 3 months supply. It's almost $50. That's
Good heavens, you can buy a 2-year supply for $30.
Well, I'm wanting
on
to
my
do
site.
something like that. Oh, really?
$30 for
Yeah.
2-year supply. Yep.
David, hold on. We're going into a break, and let's talk more about this, because I'm sure Dr. Shealy's been recommending D3 for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of us want to jump on it. We'll be right back. Class, if you're calling in, just let the phone ring. Let it continue ringing, and Jason will pick up the phone. So just let it keep ringing. We know you're here, and we'll put you on the air. David, your question's about vitamin D3. Dr. Shealy,
yeah. Good, sorry.
Dr. Shealy, you recommended a source?
Yeah,
What-
Biotech is the company we use, and as I said, we sell 100 little capsules for $30. That's, almost a 2-year supply, darn close.
So you can, David, you can get that right at Dr. Shealy's website, and that's 50,000 IU. Isn't that correct, Dr. Shealy?
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be great. Because the money I save off that, $50 every three months, I could use that for something else.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
with you all the way. I mean, $50 for 3 months is crazy.
Yeah. One other, do you know anything, you've been discussing about bleach. Well, I had the idea that we have also packs that we make for each one of us in case something happens we have to leave. Well, I wanted to put some powdered bleach. You used to have powdered bleach because water is one of the heavier things to carry. So I'm like, I could split up some powdered bleach in each one, for, sanitation if we had to go somewhere. But I can't find it. Would pool chlorine type powdered bleach like that work? Same way?
I don't know about powdered bleach. Never used it.
I can tell you this. I've had some experience with pool HTH in granular, which is powdered, and it is really, really a very powerful oxidizer, David. Many, many years ago, probably in the 1960s, I was in a chlorine fire with powdered bleach and a little bit of sawdust. I'm talking about a pinch of sawdust. Fell into an HTH container, and it immediately was ablaze and set the garage on fire where I was growing up. And it was, I just took the lid off, and just a small amount of dust just combusted instantly. And I put it out with a garden hose, and I think I damaged my lungs being in that chlorine fire. It was a massive fire, and it's 35 pounds of granular chlorine. So I am really concerned about the combustibility It's an extremely powerful oxidizer. So I can't recommend that, but I understand what you're saying. But if you go to like a Chinese factory outlet and they've got chlorine for sale, and you have a choice between the powdered and the tablets. The tablets have smaller surface area for the same amount of powdered bleach, less volatile, but it'll still say on the container, powerful oxidizer, and that's what they mean. So be very, very careful with it. And I understand, and even liquid bleach, that's dangerous as can be also. And let me ask Dr. Shealy this. Dr. Shealy, it is my belief, and correct me if I'm wrong, that chlorine bleach will kill any and everything on the planet in sufficient quantity. There's nothing that can live.
I think that's pretty close to true. I mean, maybe it's only 99.9%, but it's pretty potent.
Yes. So in our survival kit, yes, we have chlorine bleach, and it is a powerful disinfectant. It will disinfect your well, but you don't want to breathe it. It's against the Geneva Convention to use it in warfare. It was used in World War I, and it's terrible, absolutely terrible. But used correctly, it's a positive for mankind, and used incorrectly, it's a negative. But we have it to disinfect our well, and we do that probably now on the average of every 6 months. Disinfect our well, so we'll pour in about a quart of unscented, unflavored, if you will, regular chlorine bleach. And look up on the internet how to do it. Maybe if someone calls in and wants me to talk about it on Friday, I'll do that. Friday I'm going to talk about tips from the unfinished, unpublished, not for sale book. David, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, I did. If you're not busy with somebody else.
Yeah, and we've got Kyle on hold. Yes, we'll stay with you, David. Questions for Dr. Shealy. So you can buy the Biotech, BIOTECH D3, 50,000 IU for $30 right on his website, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Dr. Norm Shealy is with us, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Telephone number for the clinic, 417-521-5221.
321.
I'm sorry. 417, what was that?
417-351-5221. 417-351-5221.
There you go. And David, your thoughts?
Yeah. Do you sell the gloves on your website too? The sterilized gloves.
We do not have the gloves on our site now.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, we had the blue sterilized, the gloves that are in first aid kits, and I was going to let people know we haven't used ours. We bought them a few years ago, and they're individually sealed, and they were all rotten. I had to use some this weekend, and it was amazing. They're all rotten.
Okay, I have a suggestion for that. What we do, we find that ozone in the air damages a lot of rubber products. So what we try to do is we double, triple bag everything, and you'll find that will slow down the rate of damage. So if we put things in mason-type jars, we sterilize them and reuse them. We have large plastic containers. So, for example, if you buy grated cheese in the large containers at Sam's Club, you can save those, peel off the labels, wash them out, save them, and then you can put your vitamins, minerals, and supplements in there. So it's another layer of protection against the air damaging goods. We do that all the time. And you can do the same thing with your latex gloves. You can bag them and put them in Ziploc bags. You can put them in jars. And what you want to do is keep the air from getting to them, because they don't really protect them very well against the air getting to them. And if they're in these paper type sterile packages like gauze would come in, the air will get through there. So
yeah, we have a sealer that we can use, but I was just surprised they were all bad. But I do have a medical question. Now we took her to her doctor because I explained last week she was having nosebleeds, and they thought some of her lymph nodes on one side was swollen. Well, now they're both swollen, and she gets headaches and things of that nature. The bleeding still starts, but they had no idea what's causing it.
Well, some kind of immune dysfunction is going on. Obviously, I can't tell you exactly what that immune dysfunction is, but this is some kind of inflammatory process.
Well, they put her on prednisone. They said, let's try this for 5 days.
Oh, God.
She wasn't hip on that at all.
That's the worst thing in the world. It will only make her worse.
Yeah. So and at first they thought it was maybe her teeth because she has 2 rows of teeth. And some are still actually coming in, but it's not that. So, we're kind of stuck to try to find out, what it is.
How old is she?
She's me and her same age, 54. But the problem is her body kind of like stopped growing, but the inside still does. So she don't look that old at all. She actually dyed her hair gray because she got tired of old men thinking she was a kid at the store and wanting to give her a ride. Oh yeah, she was. You want to see that little woman go off? That's that'll do it. But
what, Dr. Shealy, what should he do with this bleeding situation?
Well, this is a situation where I can't really diagnose it adequately over the phone without seeing a patient. I need additional tests of all kinds, including a high-sensitivity CRP, a CBC. I need to know too much.
Now, we're going to go get her tests, and then she finally got access to all those, even the past ones. If we get those test results in a format, could we email them to you?
Sure.
Because this doctor, she got levels wrong on her blood, work, and next thing you know, she got put in the hospital because misdiagnosed with something that was right there. But like now, she keeps having her get these sonograms for this thing on her back that they're going to take off. It's only 3 millimeters. But she keeps saying it's on her breast, and she's like, well, when did I get breast on my back? So, so we're kind of concerned. She's not happy with this at all, but it's kind of hard when it starts, and it sometimes it takes over an hour to get them to stop. So it's not, something that she's really worried about it. But well, I appreciate it. With all this situation like this, I had to order some more filters for my masks, and everybody's selling out of everything. It's crazy.
David, are you seeing at stores people rushing to buy things that, in quantity? Because I'm not seeing any concern whatsoever, none.
Nope. I mean, I leave the store. I have been seeing shortages of food products.
Yes. On
the shore where they're running out. And then people will just go in there and buy stuff for the next day. I'm just surprised. And when we go, we make it count. And they joke around with me and saying, what are you preparing for the apocalypse? I don't want to be around them people. I'm not antisocial. It's just I don't like discussing, ignorant things with people that are out there. And you try to say something or give them some advice, and then next thing you know, you're the target. I'm like, I don't need it.
You cannot do that. You cannot do that in a store because you're dealing with the GDP. They don't understand. They don't want to understand, and they get mad at you if you try to, shed some light on how serious the situation is. You can't. So I have a suggestion.
Okay, go ahead.
You said ammo? What was it?
I was buying ammo. I was cleaning out their 22 Magnums at the store, and the guy was there, and he was listening to our conversation. He said, you know what, you need to stop worrying about this. Just pray and go on. I said, you don't even try to vote or to change or to stop them from wanting to take guns away. He goes, no, there's nothing I can do about it, so I don't care.
Okay, so all right, that's why you have nailed right on the head why I have the position I have. If we have friends that have already been established, I am certainly willing to help them. But people I don't know, I'm not willing to help because it's too late now. There's too many dumb people, and the guy that you're talking about is one of them. Okay, there's nothing. Absolutely, he can prepare. He can get his family together. They can have a family meeting every day or 3 times a day, the way we do. We talk about what's happening, what we need to do about it, and the priorities. Let me give you one quick example, David. So yesterday, I called another family meeting. Everybody's here. Our boys are here. Mrs. Finelli's here, and I said, okay, we're going to have a little lesson in plumbing. I said, so here's the deal. Right now, there's a plumbing leak, and it could be water running under the vanity in the bathroom or another bathroom, or it can be water running from a pipe somewhere, overhead, in the wall. There's a leak. What are you going to do about it? Okay, what are you going to do about it? I didn't tell him. I said, what are you going to do about it? So we went to where all the plumbing, the main plumbing is located, and I said, okay, which valves do what? I didn't brief him beforehand, and I said, here are the electrical panels. What are you gonna do? And we went through it, and it took an hour to go through it. What is connected to what? Now, I said, this is really complicated. And I know that, I asked you to figure out what the problem is and how you're going to solve it. And we're going to do it again and again and again until everybody fully understands how this complicated system works. I didn't try to make it complicated, but it is. So which valve do you shut off? Or which valves do you shut off? And why? And how is the plumbing configured? And how is the electrical system configured? And how is the solar system configured? And how can you make sure that you're protected against an EMP and a storm? We went through all that. And we're going to do it again and again and again. And that's what every family needs to do.
Now, to show you how idiot these people are, the one guy that was with him, he said, well, I lost my permit anyways. And I'm like, wait a minute, you lost your permit? Did you report it? He goes, no, I don't know where it is. I'm sure it'll show up somewhere. You got a firearm permit out there floating around. You have no idea where it is. You haven't even called to report it. You don't care. And it's people like that that cause us, the rest of us, to be attacked by the politicians. Yeah.
Okay, David.
Couldn't believe it. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for being with us. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That was David. Hi. I don't see a name on this particular line. You're on the air with Dr. Norm Shealy and Maven Finelli.
This is Kyle Vince. Sorry,
Hey.
I lost my connection and I had to call back. And so anyway, I just figured I wasn't the call those that you couldn't hear. That was not me. I don't know who that was, but
that was David.
Anyway,
that was David.
Yeah, I have another thought on just for people on toilet paper. A lot of people do not like the single ply, and I have found one that is a double ply. It's a little bit tougher, and it just slightly than the softy foam things. It's 550 sheets per roll, and you get 96 rolls in a case. And I usually get it for right in the vicinity of $57 for 96 rolls. So it ends up a little over 50 cents a roll, and it's called Heavenly Soft. And I haven't found it in regular big box stores. Where I find it is a janitorial supply company here in town. And if you have a business, they will give you 10% off. And we have been buying and stocking up on that. We probably got 2 years' worth. We cycle it in and out now just because it lasts a long time. A lot of people, especially women, do not like single-ply toilet paper, just something to be aware of. And you do have to use more of it to do the same job, in my opinion. But so that's just something else to consider for people. The other thing. Go ahead.
Here's a quick thought. Charmin, many decades ago, came out with Mr. Whipple and Squeezably Soft. And they used the fact that they pumped up their toilet paper with air as a marketing gimmick. Okay? So what I do is, and I have the opposite approach, that more solid is better in terms of more square feet per roll, because space is sometimes a concern. So if you're interested in the best bang for the buck, of course, look at the price, look at the square footage, and squeeze it. So if it squeezes a lot, there's a lot of air in there. And if you squeeze Scott's single ply, not too much air. It's pretty solid. And if you squeeze the single ply from Aldi, not too much air. But Aldi keeps changing their manufacturers. Like every couple of months, it's different. It's a different texture, different quilting, a different. Yes. Yeah.
The other brand that is really good, that is almost exactly the same thing as the Heavenly Soft, is called Cascade.
Yes.
And you might be able to find that as well. I've got something else for you on this disease. I'll hold on.
Very good. And Dr. Shealy, we'd love to hear your comments as well, in preparedness and medical issues as we go forward with this absolutely terrifying disease. Class, if you want to see what this is like, watch The Stand. Stephen King's The Stand. It's just like the coronavirus. We're down to the last segment, just a couple minutes left. Kyle, then Todd. Kyle, please continue.
Okay, I'll be really quick, Vince. So I told my wife right after, about a week or two after this, we heard about this thing, and they said that it had a 14-day incubation period. I told her, I said, this thing is going to be horrible. It's not so bad as if you can get an incubation period of about 2 to 3 or 4 days, but it's horrible when it's 14 days because you talk to innumerable amount of people in 14 days. So that's all I got to say for this, Vince. I just think I think people should be really paying attention and, just like you said, get everything that you think you're going to need up front and now.
Well said, Kyle. Thank you so much.
Vince, one quickie question. I have a vacuum packer, that I put when I'm going to freeze something. But if I were to fill a vacuum packed bag with bottles of supplements, do you think it would keep them longer than having it at room temperature?
Absolutely. But I would keep them cool. And and here's the thing: the change in temperature causes the change in pressure inside that container. So at the outside temperature, let's say it's in a kitchen cabinet, and in the summer it's warmer, and in the winter it's a little cooler. So the temperature changes from evening to daytime. That causes the package to expand and contract, and ultimately air leaks in there and contaminates, the ingredients oxidize. So if you can prevent some of that with sealing better, absolutely. Or if you can put it in a spaghetti sauce jar. They used to be made out of glass. Now they're becoming more made out of plastic. But if you could find a glass jar with a tight seal, we don't throw ours away. We keep them. We've got hundreds of them lying around here. And we sterilize them, and so they don't smell like spaghetti sauce. And then we've had them for years, probably decades. And we put everything that we want to keep longer that will fit in there. And you can see through it because the label's already been washed off. So I would consider doing that.
Okay.
Todd in Michigan, welcome. You're on with Dr. Norm Shealy.
Hi, this is Todd, Dr. Shealy.
Yep.
Vince.
Hi.
Yeah.
I have a question about antibiotics. What should we stock up on for antibiotics? What's best thing for a tooth infection or something like that?
Personally, I can't take any antibiotic without it causing me diarrhea. So I can't answer that. I don't like them. I'd rather die than have them. I just would take extra vitamin C myself.
What about Allison?
I take Allison. I take it every day, and you're talking about, it's garlic. It's garlic in a capsule.
Oh, well, garlic, yeah. I have garlic on hand all the time.
Yeah, but this is like 30 capsules, or 30 garlic cloves in one capsule.
Right. So it's called Allison Med, right?
Right, yeah. I'm aware of it. I just grow I grow elephant garlic.
And we talked about
I like
that. We talked about that during the last week. How to grow garlic and why you should.
Yeah,
and
I
you ought
heard
to start
that.
on that.
Good.
You ought to start on that right now. Grow it indoors. Get moving on that.
Too.
Yeah, get moving on that. And some of the soils that you buy at the big box stores for growing has it's made with city sludge, so be careful. Sometimes it's called biosolids, which means industrial sewage that has been dried out and chlorinated and disinfected, but it's still poop.
Yeah,
it's still poop.
That too. That's craziness.
Yeah, so you might want to use soil that you know has not been contaminated when you grow whatever it is you're going to grow.
Dr. Shealy.
Yeah.
Dr. Shealy?
Yeah?
Be careful with that vacuum sealer. You can crush things.
Oh, yeah. No, I've used it for years. I love it.
Well, you just mentioned beets, so I didn't know if you use it for anything else.
Oh, I use it for vegetables, fruits, everything.
And another quick thing for the vacuum sealer, if you have an outdoor thermometer, you can seal it up in there. It'll go 2-3 years.
Right.
That's it.
Todd,
Thanks, guys.
I have a quick question for you, Todd.
Yeah.
Are you prepared? Do you think you can ride out the storm where you are? I don't want you to give away any secrets, but I'm just wondering, are you prepared, or do you need more of whatever it might be?
Well, I live very close to a lot of fresh water.
Mm-hmm.
And food I'm good on.
Mm-hmm.
Ammo I could use a little more. I need more solar.
Mm-hmm.
And the medicine, that's another hole.
I've been wanting to say on the air why people should buy 22 long rifle cartridges and an accurate 22 long rifle.
I got about 10,000 rounds.
That's a good start. Todd, that's a good start. But I'd love to say
22 semi-auto. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to say
Marlin,
why.
Man. You should hit, that thing it'll hit tacks at 150 yards. An old Marlin.
Yeah, you're talking about a Marlin Model 39 lever action. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's semi-auto.
Okay. Well, I'd love to tell people why I'm recommending buying 22s, but boy, they'll shut me down and arrest me the second I say it, so I can't say it. But I can say, got ammo? 22s. Got ammo? 22s. Todd, thank you so much. Dr. Shealy, thank you for being with us today.
Have a good week.
You too. Bye-bye.